Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Shane, thank you very much indeed. You've refreshed my memory of what it used to be like to run a cold storage business. And so many of those messages up there sort of rang true to me from my past. And secondly, for those of you who are developing electric tractors, bear me in mind, I've come down from rural Norfolk. I can hear a tractor coming from about half a mile away. It's going to be an interesting experience when we actually get to the electrification of this bits and pieces of kit. I think it's the same as our friends in the parcels industry with their electric vans delivering in central London. It's amazing how they can creep up on you. And I wish they'd have some sort of beeper system as they're travelling along. But there we are. Chris Sturman. I'm also co-chair of the Retail and Food Logistics Forum for the CILT, and I'm currently exercising my mind, along with a few others, in the Central London Freight Quality Partnership about kerbside, which is a big issue, and I'll come on to that, if I may, in a little while, because it links in with Andy and his guys and girls on their electric bikes going through London and how we actually get there, despite the Mayor, the Transport for London, and some of the regulatory issues. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about supply chain. Here you have a slide which I thought would go down quite well, just to refresh our memories, all the way from the farm and the abattoir. Yes, there are a few left. Through food manufacturing, the warehouse, obviously involved in holding inventory, to the logistics partner assembling and delivering, through to the shop, the restaurant, or indeed you or I as consumer individuals who want steak tonight from Ricardo, or any other company who are prepared to do, such as your own delivery, prepared to deliver to me when I've finally made up what the recipe is going to be for tonight. Here's the old style. So you had originally the sort of central warehouse, either or from food manufacturers, often in full lorry loads, through to a consolidator centre or an RDC or a national distribution centre, and then on through the tertiary sector to the store. And I think the difference now that we're starting to come through is the concept of urban consolidation centres, and we'll come on to that in a little while. But before we do, some data which I picked up since I wrote these slides from an annual survey from a well-known set of consultants. 3 to 5% of a retailer's revenue is now taken up in warehousing and distribution. I don't know if that would ring any bells with yourself, Justin. Energy costs have gone up by on average, 12.5% in the last 12 months. And we've just seen the band go up again, although the longer range forecast is that energy will start to decline, energy costs will start to decline later in the year. Non-people costs are now 7.5% of an average retail total cost budget. The key focuses currently are on stock loss, back to that the slides which you've seen earlier, about a third of all the food in the supply chain disappears or is got rid of or disposed of because it's no longer consumable. Co-focuses on inbound and outbound frequency. I think the days of I only want 2 pallets are coming to an end. It's a matter of saying, well, how do we actually negotiate with our suppliers so that we can actually get a most economic cost of movement in the primary stage through to the NDC. And also we're forecasting better, we're using advanced analytics, we're looking at forward buying and hedging particularly in terms of energy and so on. But the big issue throughout all of this lot is people, and we touched on that this morning as well in the debate we had earlier, didn't we? You know, how do we actually attract people into our industry? I remember 5 years ago, as part of my role in CILT, I went to a regional committee which was focused on young people, and we had a meeting afterwards, and tea and buns and all that. And there were probably about 100 people in the room, and somebody said, or the chairman said, how many of you actually got into logistics and supply chain because you really, really, really wanted to? 4 hands went up. How many of you got into this purely by accident? A forest of hands went up. And it's amazing how in our sector, people come into it either because they're drawn into it from some other discipline or because it was purely by accident. And we have now, of course, within the CILT, a whole initiative of generation logistics, supported by government, and getting people to understand the real opportunities there are, the range of opportunities there are within the world of logistics and supply chain. So, and I think the other thing that I picked up from this particular study was the added investment. This is on the back of a focus on ESG, that 60% of those who answered the survey said we are actually going to add capacity either within our own operation or by getting our third-party logistics service suppliers, the usual brands, DHL, GXO, Wincanton and the like, to add to their existing operations. And 20% said that we're actually going out and putting out tenders to get new relationships with new 3PLs because we need those, because the world is changing. So, and finally, I suppose, and Justin, I'm going to refer again from our previous conversation, we organised a superb visit to your super hub at Milton Keynes, and John Manelli, your head of logistics, and your colleague gave us a wonderful view over was it 2 million square feet of 30-metre high warehousing, carrying all the range of the various categories of merchandise that you sell in your stores and on home delivery. 90% of which is automated, and this is the other thing that I think is we're seeing far more of: the shortage of people. We saw about 250,000 people disappear east, returning home, EU nationals at Brexit. This was one of the Brexit effects, and that was a real challenge to us. We'd already got a challenge. I think we were looking already for between, I think it was either 30, 50 or 70,000 HGV drivers at one stage, depending on whether you were at the RHA or what used to be called the FTA, the Logistics UK, or other trade associations. But these are all challenges. But again, in logistics, we rise to the occasion. These are all opportunities. All the usual straplines, if I can use them. So let's move on to some of the other things. So I've covered those bits, but what we're going to talk about now, I think, more of the last two: vehicle specifications, availability, costs, and delivery lead time, and then regulatory changes, all of which have an effect on the whole process towards 35 now, isn't it? And on to 2050. This is some empirical evidence which I've picked up in conversations with various people in the business, particularly in the rental and contract hire world. I happen to sit on the New Covent Garden Market Traffic Advisory Committee, and as you probably appreciate, those of you who are in the London area, there are significant numbers of vehicles. I think about 1,000 commercial vehicles of various sizes located in the market. Thank you. These are they. The big issues that currently are, we can get vans, depending on which mark or size. It'll take you between 6 and 12 months to actually get delivery. it's that long, again, because of EU regulations on vehicle manufacturers leaning towards deliveries into the EU rather than into the UK. Also, the whole issues about recharging networks in forecourts and people's uncertainty about the range of vehicles and whether or not they ought to buy a vehicle with a normal battery or an extra battery because of particularly if it's a refrigerated one. Or what about home-based vehicles? How are they going to be charged? The other one, of course, is hydrogen at 44 tonnes. We've seen already electric 44 tonnes. I was at Millbrook at Cenex only the other week, looking at Ford and Volvo, very early stage. Green hydrogen, I am told, and I know Justin might be able to tell me this, whether we're right still or not, is currently $100 a kilo. But there's a need for another £10 billion worth of investment in the sector, and of course is when they're going to be available. And I was interested over the weekend to see that Germany has decided to invest in somewhere in the region of £60 billion in a hydrogen network. Finally, these are some of the issues to do with delivery lead times and temperature controlled refrigeration. Do we do engine drives, solar panels, or e-donkification, a new word for you? How to remove the non-mobile machinery off the front bulkhead of a trailer and actually replace it with something like the technology that Swans are currently putting on, and of course direct vision safety. So there's, on kerbside, we're having some wonderful difficulties really to bridge the gap between operators and regulators, and some of the concerns we're having, particularly in terms of placemaking, parking spaces, kerbside, width of roadways, and available routes. And here's some of the slides which you'll see. I'm running short of time, also we're talking through with London Planning and Development Forum, New London Architecture, and discussion with TfL, GLA, and Cross River Partnership, who are actually at the present stage having three particular trials at the moment. One is an electric boat going up and down from Dartford to Southwark with goods as a trial. The second one, of course, are e-bikes, and the third one is the possibility of converting the Undercroft, what used to be the Eurostar station at Waterloo, into a new mini hub for London, which with the help of Great Britain Great Railways, so Peter Hendy is very much behind that. So, of course, we're focusing on future of freight. So finally, here's a few pictures for you, some of the issues that refrigerated trucks have when they're delivering into central London, which we are seeking to challenge with the benefit of saying also, let's have electric charging points for vehicles, and let's also support the initiative with Grid Smarter Cities in terms of virtual parking and unloading bays, which take away the current conflictual situation between boroughs and operators and the amount of money that gets paid in PCNs every week. But these are all environmental issues which are currently in place. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your attention. I hope that's useful.